I call the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before the last federal election, when he was opposition leader, the Prime Minister campaigned on trust, on honesty, on keeping promises. He famously said, "The government has no mandate. There should be no tax collection without an election." Now we have the pot calling the kettle black. Now he is in government. He believes in taxation without elections. 5 weeks ago, I and Labor challenged the Prime Minister and his merry band of gaffsters to go out and listen to the voices of the mighty Australian people. The last 5 weeks has shown time and time again that there is no mandate for this government's budget because it's built upon lies and lies and more lies. This government has the exact opposite of a mandate for its budget. Its budget is illegitimate. This is a government trapped in its budget, and this is a nation's budget trapped by this government. We asked the Leader of the Opposition, the Leader of the government and his team to go and talk to families about the $6,000 they're losing. Go and talk to pensioners about the $4,000 they are losing. To talk about the motorists paying more, even some of those poor motorists. Students and teachers losing $30 billion. Patients and healthcare workers losing over $50 billion from the budget. We asked them to talk to GPs collecting the GP tax from aged care and palliative care facilities. We asked them to talk to university students about doubling and tripling the fees to go to university. We asked veterans how did they feel about having their pensions cut. We asked, could you find some carers to talk about cutting payments? What about unemployed people under the age of 30? No income for 6 months. Indigenous Australians, $500 million from programs. The government had 5 weeks to change their mind, but in the last 5 weeks, all they've done is change their tactics. They had 5 weeks to listen to people, to dump their dishonest, rotten and unfair budget. This is an incompetent government led by an incompetent Prime Minister and an incompetent Treasurer. I am sure, in the quiet parts, in the quiet moments of reflection that government members have, they wonder, surely, isn't it possible? Can't we get a new Treasurer? Every day, a new disaster for this government, every day. Let me remind the Australian people about the accomplishments of this government in the last 5 weeks. We've got Mr Wright to be a bigot himself, the Attorney-General. He went out to defend watering down the anti-hate laws less than 24 hours before he dumped on himself. Then he followed up with that interview on metadata. Surely one of the most bizarre and awkward pieces of television since the John Hewson cake interview. And of course, Senator Abbott, Leader of the government in the Senate, he said he decided that he didn't like what his deputy was getting, the attention he was getting, so he decided, in an act of political bravery, to go onto the project, a show I'm not even sure he ever watched before he went on it, to reinvestigate the latest in 1950s medical science. And of course, we've got the Monday, Wednesday, Friday budget emergency, interspersed by the Tuesday and Thursday not such an emergency. But there's no doubt that the star of this government sitcom over the last 5 weeks is none other than no average Joe. He is an albatross around the neck of this government. But the Prime Minister must keep the Treasurer, because it's very careless for a Prime Minister to lose a Treasurer. Because once you lose your Treasurer, you've got no one else to blame but yourself. I did certainly enjoy the book reviews. The book reviews. We have a treasurer who says in his book, in his famous book, in his must-buy book, according to him, that I was a little too soft in my budget. What planet does this treasurer live on? But what I liked, what I really admired, was that marvellous Hamlet-esque Shakespearean quality of our treasurer, who says, "Woe unto me! Why is it that everyone is against me? My backbench, the commentators, the people, Peter Costello." What an ungrateful ex-treasurer he is. But indeed, the real problem with this unfair budget is that this is a government who does not know where it is going or what it is doing. They've relied upon lies. It is a bits and pieces budget, devoid of very much other than a ruthless right-wing ideology. But today, just when I thought nothing else could this government do surprise me, I surely thought there is nothing else that they could do. They've declared war on the War Memorial. It is the 100th anniversary of the start of World War. Don't shake your head over there. It's your problem because he's your treasurer. What they've done is an utter disgrace. On the anniversary of the War Memorial, they've decided to cut the travelling exhibition because, of course, we will fight to the death, the government says, for the rolled gold paid parental leave, but I think we need to neck $800,000 spent on a travelling program. This is a great program. A great program. 3.8 million kids, 3.8 million Aussies have seen this program. I don't mind you muscling up to me, I just wish you'd do it in your caucus room. Now, what they have done is galleries in communities all over Australia. In town, some of these city-based Liberal MPs have never even heard of. They are going to be disappointed by this heartless decision. Because what a clever government. Why wouldn't you take away the story of our soldiers on display in Perth? Why did we never think of that? Why wouldn't you take away on display in Brisbane and Adelaide the story of the forgotten diggers of World War I? Of course. The brain surgeons writing the script of this sitcom government said to each other, let's take away the story of the nurses going from Zululand to the modern time. Our veterans deserve better than this government. We deserve better than a government who will cut the funding to its own war memorial. This travelling exhibition and where it goes is a map of Australia, and you are seeking to erase it. These cuts must be reversed. I call upon those members in the government to find a little bit of spine on this question. We don't mind if you get the credit for this. Reverse this decision. The real issue, though, in the last 5 weeks is that the government's had the chance to demonstrate it can be trusted. The truth of the matter is that in the last 105 days, Australia has learnt you can't trust Tony Abbott. You can't trust Joe Hockey, and you can't trust this government. This is a government who has then said, in what can only be regarded as a feat of some remarkable foolhardiness, is they've said to people, if you don't vote for our unfair budget, we will tax you more. We will cut research more. We will punish you more. This is a government who will stoop to pressuring the Australian people and saying, unless the Senate takes our unfair budget propositions on, then we will go harder and worse at a government. Let me be clear, this Prime Minister loves to quote to us about mandate. Mandate this, mandate that. Well, where was the mandate for this budget? This is, and he made himself very famous criticising the former government. There was no mandate, there should be no new taxation without an election. Well, Tony Abbott, what was good for you then is good for you now. I state here clearly and loudly and unequivocally, you have no mandate for your budget. You have no mandate for your cuts. You have no mandate to punish pensioners. You have no mandate to punish the schools and the hospitals. You have no mandate to hurt ordinary Australians. If you really believe in what you say, test it at an election, but in the meantime, Do not punish ordinary Australians because you told lies before the last
Member's time
election.
has expired.